Hello, hello. It's me, Annalisa, with my spiritual friend. It's Sunday. I'm eating some almonds. Sorry, it's annoying. Jean said she can't be here today, but she paid for 2 questions, so we will throw her on the list. Jen. Hope everybody is well if you're here. Not just sit, hang out until somebody shows up. Let me know when you're here. Let's see what's new. Hi, Jen. I'm just eating a little snack. We had a delay getting out of ice skating today, so it was one of my kids' friends came to join us for the public part of it session, and then we went so they could get Dunkin' Donuts afterwards. I can start with you since you're the only one here. I'll start with all your questions if you want. I was actually hoping that you saw Matt this weekend, but then I saw you didn't. Hey, Nicole. Okay. So, Nicole, do you want to ask your question? Anything coming in love? Can I ask you, since we're asking about love, and because I didn't know if you would be asking about your dad, how's your dad doing? Sorry for all the smacking and all that. I was just really hungry. So I grabbed a handful of, which is not a meal by any means, but I unfortunately cannot eat most food when I go out. So definitely nothing from Dunkin' Donuts. So, oh, that's awesome. 30% reduction is huge. That's fabulous. And I think I mentioned I thought he would have some rough days, but that's okay, right? If it's working, I guess it's worth it, right? Did he try gummies? Did you get him some gummies to try? Sorry, all the grossness. All right, let's do a love reading. Let me just do a little spritzy spray. Oh, is there any in here? No. There's some in here. Yes. He likes the ones that make him sleepy. Perfect. Maybe that's what he needs, is just because I'm sure he's got a lot of anxiety. Just going through something like that can be very, just the mental part of it, not even just the physical, the mental part of it is exhausting and overwhelming. I can, Okay. So I'm glad he's responding well to treatment. Okay. All right. Let's look at love for you. So September feels very important. It feels like a big shift, like I almost feel like this, like a burst of energy around relationships. I don't feel much in June. I feel like you're a little more in your head in June. I don't feel like you're really putting yourself out there. And I don't want to be like you're in victim state, whatever, but I do feel like there's a lot of being a little too hard on yourself in June, and like doing a lot of introspective work, but kind of in a harder way. Ugh, sorry. I just feel bad because I'm like, um, and I'm so sensitive, it sounds like. So, like, I actually videos where people are chewing on them, I'm always like, oh my God, just like, do you have to talk it? Like, can you just eat some other time? But I get that, like, oh, whatever. Okay, sorry. So, I just feel like, sorry to interrupt there. August is where, like, so July still feels kind of like I don't feel as introspective, but I don't feel like I'm dating a lot in July. August is where I'm sort of coming out of that funk. And then there's this like pop in September is the way I feel it. Um, so I know I say this a lot, but I feel like some of what happens is like in June, I feel like you're still doing the like, why don't things work out for me? Like kind of that stuff. And then in July, I feel like you get a little experimentational. We've talked about this a lot about doing self concept work and like doing the affirmations and falling asleep to stuff. And I feel like that's where you sort of like take it seriously and just see like I've tried everything else. Like I'll just do this even though it just sounds like or whatever. And like and sticking with it. And I feel like that's what that pulling out awakeness part happens in August. And Jen can attest to this because she's been doing the affirmation work. It makes a difference. And it's not like you have to like you don't even have to really think about it if you do it while you sleep. It just sort of will naturally evolve. And it's interesting. But I feel like that's kind of what happens. And I don't mean to be like, I don't know if I'm like not even trying to like sneak that in, but it's a feeling of that's what happens. So I'm not telling you should do it. I just feel like you end up finally going. So I've talked about this before. I didn't have a great childhood, right? I didn't have like a lot of like my family's just dysfunctional at best. I'll keep that in mind. It would be someone I haven't met yet. I feel like it's somebody you haven't met yet. So, but like my freshman year after college, I had a tough time my freshman year in college. Not like just I didn't have a great roommate and I didn't have a great self concept. It took a long time for me to have a decent self concept. And I just felt like there was something wrong with me and I needed to figure out how to be maybe happier. And I started like, I was like, I'm willing to try religion at this point. Like, so I like started going to church with my friend and I kind of like veered on the like Christian-y path and stuff like that for a little while. Like, I remember one time getting mad at my dad for swearing, which is like hilarious because I swear all the time. um, but I feel like that's kind of where you're at. You'll end up being at is like, I just need to try something like and seriously put my mind to it and stick with it for a little bit. And then I do. Um, that's the feeling I get. Okay. It's interesting because I feel like now that I'm in this way, it's like where I've started to see where it's like literally if I'm like I literally just shut that part of my brain up that's like so like yesterday I went to a camporee. My daughters are in Girl Scouts. I'm one of the troop leaders. We went to camporee. And there was like a situation where at lunch we had like they had a whole bunch of people there not that was like they had another Girl Scout group with several tables plus there was like a daddy daughter thing there. And I was in the lunch area early and I have to bring my own food everywhere. Like I can't like hope that they're going to have food that I can eat because of the histamine intolerance. So I had my own bag or whatever and I put it on the table and then I was like my daughter I swear to God, will probably end up being vegetarian. but she didn't want the food that was there because there was like hamburgers and then French fries and stuff. I was like, well, you can't just eat French fries and corn. Like, then I ended up getting her grapes from the car. But I was like, I'll go to the car and get like the rest of the food that I brought. So there's at least more options for you and you have a full belly. And when I got back, all the tables were full. One of the kids had taken my bag off the table and like put it on the floor behind them. And the parents were like, oh, sorry. And I was like, And in my head, I thought, like, first of all, I would never let anybody in my troop do that. Like, my girls know, and the parents are the same too from my troop that I'm the troop leader for. Like, you be respectful of everybody else's space. You treat people the way you want to be treated. You leave a place as nice as you came to it, that kind of stuff. And so I would have, like, none of the adults I was with would have been like, or that I'm, that are parents with me would have been like, no, like, that's not okay. Like, you. So I ended up going to eat by myself. But while I was eating, I sat and reflected, like, okay, I manifested that somehow. There's still part of me that feels like I'm not welcome in the group. I'm not valued enough to be seen. I'm not, like, there's still that part of me, even though I've done a lot of work. So I'm like, okay. So I just started like, then I was like, okay, I need to shift that. So in that moment, I sat there and I was like, no, like, people like me, people want to have me around, people value what I have to say. People like hanging out with me, just like those kind of things, that feelings that I've started having as a very young little girl of like being the outsider, my voice didn't matter, like all of those things, where I was like, no, I have to consciously shift that. And so I have to take every opportunity that I can to really look at the situation and how I created it, or how, and it's not like, oh, I created it, but if your belief systems create your reality, and the world is just a reflection of what those belief systems are, well, then I had something there somewhere still deep inside that reflects that, and that's how it showed up. So it wasn't like I said I'm a little disappointed that nobody said anything. It was like, just like, oh. And another parent, when I walked by like to another table where my daughters were sitting, because I was like, well, that table was full, and I was like, I'll just go sit over here, it's not a big deal, like, I can sit wherever. I just said, I'm going to go sit down there by myself, so that they knew like where to find me, because I didn't want to have my kids not know to be able to find me. So I went and sat by myself. And one of the moms was like, oh, I'll get up. But she was eating. And I was like, no, you don't have to give me your seat. Like, I'll go sit over there. But my point being is, it's like, I feel like some of this you'll happen is you'll start to look at your own stuff and go, okay, rather than, and it's not to be like, I create everything, I'm such a terrible person. And I would, like, it's not about not wanting that stuff. It's just about like looking at it like, oh, well, what belief system might have created that? It's actually much more empowering than constantly feeling like things are just happening to me all the time. And of course, you don't want those situations. It's not about like you created it because you wanted it, right? Like, I didn't create the abuse I had when I was a kid, but there was a feeling of not being valuable, not being worthy, not being allowed to have boundaries that sort of allowed some of that to pop up, I think. Um, it doesn't mean I'm responsible for it. I don't know any other way to say that. So I'm in contact with Stefano. Okay. That name kills me. Days of Our Lives. He's a bit supportive through this, but doesn't seem like it's going anywhere again. I feel that it's such a roller coaster through, and sometimes flipping it and then going back to feeling unvaluable. Right. But you're not unvaluable. That's just a story. That was just code that accidentally got programmed in. And if we think about computers and how there's coding, there's constantly updates. Like, oh, someone put that in and mistyped it. We got to like go in and fix that, because it turns out when we put that in, all of these results happened and we didn't foresee that. So it's not like I think your parents are intentionally going around going like, I want her to feel invaluable and not worthy, invaluable and not worthy, and all of that stuff. It's just stuff that comes up. So if you can like take the emotion out of that, and it's not to intellectualize everything, like you should feel your feelings, like it's totally okay to feel your feelings. And in order to really fix a problem, like when you look at, like if you were in a corporate thing, like you work in a big business or whatever, you can't be all super emotional because it's really hard to see stuff. But if you could just like look at it and be like, it's not really anybody's fault, but where do we find the thing? So it's like, but our natural brain thing is to like find fault. It's like, we don't have to look at where the fault is. Let's just find the problem and fix it. I don't think you're going to end up with Stefano. I got to be honest with you. I think I told you that a while ago. it's not to say that he's an NPC, like a non-player character, like from a video game. It's like not to like place him like that, but it almost feels like I'm just here representing this part of you that doesn't feel valuable and worthy or whatever. And as soon as you figure that, I go away and that other one comes back in. Okie dokie. All right, let's do, hang on, I have some other, that's Jen. Maybe a quiet day today, who knows? That's okay. Okay, I'm gonna go to your email, Jen, because so if you can look at it like, so instead of me feeling, I was like, well, I could sit and feel sorry for myself that I'm sitting here by myself, but I made a choice. Like I could have just said like squeeze over, but I also don't like eating like this. Plus I had my own food and like, so like when you it was like, I had a huge salad and like then a thing for the turkey and then a thing for, other stuff. So I just didn't want to be like, somebody thought of an email reading and I'm like, so it's just, and it's somebody I know. So that's, I was like, but I was literally thinking about her earlier today and be like, I need to email her about her eyelashes. Don't ask. So I bought some different magnetic eyelashes, like that are apparently the ones that are whatever they're, and everybody's like, it's so easy. I'm like, they're terrible. Don't waste your money. They're terrible. Okay. So Jen, here's your question. Let's go. I have okay. Okay. The minute I was reading this, what I felt was, okay, so when I was reading about the, like, he's like the last minute planner, like that's just what works for him. First of all, there's like belief systems there, like that you're creating him to maintain this, like, this doesn't matter. I feel like when you're telling him, like, it's not like blowing him off, but I feel like it has to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I already have plans. So that he figures out, like, I have to schedule something with her. I can't just expect her to show up. So it's not like, no, I don't feel like it. It's, I already have plans. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm already busy, or not responding and then saying, oh, I was busy doing something. So it's like where he understands that, like, and then also saying like, like sometimes you have to plan stuff. Like you can't just do last minute. It doesn't really work for my schedule. I hate last minute stuff. I'm not, because I have too many other things going on. I have kids, I have a life. And if you want to see me, then you plan it. And that's okay. I mean, I schedule phone calls to talk to friends just because of the way our schedules are. It's okay. So I feel like he'll get it, but it literally has to be a very clear, like, I already have plans. I already did this. So like, this is already set up. So it's not like, oh no, I don't feel like it. So he's like, there's nothing ambiguous about it. It's like, oh, I already scheduled something. Like I'm already doing something, or I'm already busy. And it's not occurring to him because you've set a pattern in the past that you were just available. And so it's sort of like you already gave him, it's not to say you're training, because I hate to deduce it to that. But even with your kids, when you set a precedent, they follow precedent. I have told him that numerous times during our relationship. He just would be like, well, you're a planner. I'm not. Okay. So it is like, it's not even like I'm a planner. It's like, this is like something you can even say to him, you were too available. Yeah. So it's like, you're right. I am a planner. So I'm all full. I'm scheduled. So like, if you want to hang out, I would love to hang out with you. I enjoy your company. And also, like, this is just how I have my life now. And it's what works for me. So he can figure it out or not. Be the black cat. Don't be the puppy dog. But it just feels like retraining him. And it's not to be like, you have to do what I want you to do, but it's like, this doesn't work to me. This doesn't work for me, because it also feels like a lack of respect of my time. And if you valued spending time with me, you would understand that, like, hey, because you know what, a week in advance or 3 days in advance or 2 days in advance is not over scheduling. Like, if it's important, he can do it. He can schedule a doctor's appointment and hold that and keep that appointment. He can schedule meetings with work and hold those, and he doesn't get all. So this is around control, and that's his own control issue. But for you, it's about respect. And you have to decide what your boundaries are. And you have to set those boundaries and stick with them. It's not about making him do what you want, but it's like, no, my boundary is like, I want you to like have enough respect to not call me during booty call hours and ask if I want to do something, but to like plan time to hang out with me. End of story. And if he's like, well, you're a planner, it's like, but how do you schedule your doctor's appointments? Is that like possible? So it's like, so you can do it. And if he feels like you're being confrontational and that's a problem, you can't be in a relationship with somebody that you can't have that conversation with. Like, that doesn't work. I'm speaking from experience. Like, if you can't have a simple conversation around what boundaries are safe and what expectations are, then that's not a relationship. Even if it's a friendship. I have friends who I've said, I can't do minute things. Like, I get it, but I can't. One of my best friends, like, she's like probably my best friend here in New Jersey. And I've said to her, like, there was a point where she was like, oh, you can call me if you want, for like, it was for something to like, I needed to be somewhere and I needed to have somebody watch my kids or whatever. And I said to her, she's like, and it was like, I was giving notice. It was a couple weeks in advance. I said, no offense, I can't ask you to do this, like, just in case, like, be a backup or whatever. And I said, because something always comes up. So I adore you, but I have to have this like scheduled. And so it was very honest. Like, I know, it doesn't mean I don't love her. It doesn't mean she doesn't care about me, but this is like something where I have to have that boundary. He just texted you and was like, so I guess that's a no, we aren't hanging out, because I was giving it time before I responded back to tell him no. I think that's fair. You don't have to be like at his beck and call, because even if, let's go with marriage, you're married to him, right? I know you're not, but I'm saying, like, say, let's put it in the story of we're married. I mean, I had to explain this to my husband at a point. Like, it's not that I'm going to say yes or no and not give you permission. It's just that it's you being considerate of my time. So like, it was him going out or whatever, and then not asking till last minute, but he would like intentionally not ask till last minute. So I couldn't say no. And I was like, I was never going to say no. It's just being respectful of the fact that, like, I am affected by your choices. So it's learning to say, like, what are your real boundaries? And you have to respect them, not him. You do. But sometimes through respecting your own boundaries, it means that you have to set absolute limitations with people. Maybe we don't hang out in person. Maybe we don't hang out like under these circumstances. And I think that's fair. And it doesn't make you, it just took me a really long time to learn that. And it's hard to put into practice. It's not an easy thing. That's why a lot of people don't do it, because it's hard and it can be really uncomfortable when you're not used to it. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. And the more you recognize, like, this is behavior. Like, these are all, like, he's a grown up. So to go like, oh, I just can't handle scheduling things, like, you're a whole grown ass person. You are in a grown up body. So you, like, do you want to be in a relationship with someone who can't schedule a hangout time with you? Like, go be in your 20s then, because I don't have time for that. That's the kind of thing I'm like, no, we don't have time for that. Not at our age. like there's just, you no, absolutely not. So I do feel like he'll get it, but it does feel like you having to set your own boundaries and do that kind of stuff. It's literally not about anything other than that. I do feel like he'll get it, but he needs it in very clear, like, words. So it is starting to set your boundaries first. Start of like, no, I already have plans. Like, I'm busy. Followed up by like, listen, are you able to like make a schedule for work? Like, do you have meetings planned ahead of time? Do you have this at a time? And like putting him to that thing. It's like being like, well, I get like that you might, but If you can be respectful enough of your doctor, who you don't have a very personal relationship with, you aren't totally intimate with, and you can be respectful of me and expect me to be totally, like if he's expecting you to be totally vulnerable, he can be respectful. Sorry to be like on my pedestal, but it's just that feeling, like it feels like when you do that, that's when he's like, oh, okay, yeah. Does he do anything at all for you for Mother's Day? I feel like you might get flowers, but I don't feel like a big, it doesn't feel like anything big. And I don't know that you're hanging out, because I feel like he's still on that, like, we're not in a relationship, so I'm not quite sure where I stand here. I feel like when he buys the plane tickets, it feels like it's actually closer to the date, like the 19th of May, that weekend or around that time. But I also feel like it should be like, if you're not buying that, like if you're not planning on going, you're not buying the tickets, that's fine, but let me know because I want to buy tickets. Like I feel like it should be like, I don't really care. I'd love to have you there. I don't really care, but I'm making plans for me. I'm setting up the thing. So I get that you're last minute, but I need to know for me, because if you're not, then I need to get on the ball and start pushing forward with this. And I feel like it's okay to be that direct about it, because it's the feeling of like you standing in your own power and like, my life doesn't revolve around you. If you want to go, that's great. If you're going to buy the tickets, that's super awesome. But if not, like, don't leave me hanging, because I need to be able to get myself going, because I'm going with or without you. Like my plans are happening regardless. It feels like you have to be that way with him. Um, um, so you asked about like what are his intentions towards you? What are his feelings with you and his kids? Um, he absolutely considers you like another mother figure to them, or like another, like there's not a question of him not feeling comfortable with you around his children. um I feel like he really thinks you do a good job. I don't feel like you mother them. It feels more like giving solid advice or having a good interaction with them. I don't That's like not even anything that you should ever be concerned with. And as far as with you, he's very attracted to you. He likes you a lot, but I also feel like it's that like wanting to drop into old patterns and behaviors and not have to really be accountable. And so it's more about him just trying to figure out, again, his own stuff. And I'm going to say this, like when you're constantly looking at like, how does he feel about me? It's like, that's kind of disempowering. And it really feels like it should be more about like, what do I think of him? Like, is he really stepping up to the plate? Is he really something like, if he was never to change and nothing was ever to change, would this be behavior and treatment I'm willing to put up with? Is this something I really want? Yes, we have a history. Yes, I'm very attracted to him. Yes, I love him. And is this something I really want to be dealing with in 5, 10 years? Because so then it becomes really looking at your own self concept and doing that work. And then stuff starts to change, right? So, like, even now, you've been doing the affirmations and stuff for a little bit now. And probably the first time where you're just like, oh no, I'm not, like, I want you to schedule stuff and like stick with it. Like, whereas before it'd be like, well, I want this and how do I make it happen? And now it's like, no, I just don't want to tolerate that anymore, because I love myself, because I'm valuable, because I'm worthy, because I'm deserving of that kind of behavior. So it's more about like, my sense of what's going to happen again is just, and I feel like this happens actually before June. So I don't know, maybe right before June, like 3 weeks time, where it's just kind of like, hmm, like this switch flips, and it's not that you're done with him. You're just like totally comfortable with being like, yeah, no, this is what I'm looking for. And if you're not, that's fine. But like, here's where I'm at. And even when you guys get back together, because I do feel like you will, because I feel like he wakes up, I still feel like you're going to have to do the self-concept work, because it's too easy to fall back into that old belief system, that old subconscious belief system, because that path has been drawn so well. Like, I've really worked on self-conscious or my self-concept stuff. And even this past weekend, it was like that thing popped up. So it's like, oh, there's still that there for me. I still need to work on that. Does it mean I'm broken and I'll never get it? No, it's just like, oh, that's, well, okay, that's still there. So let's keep working on that. So yes, I think he finds you attractive. Yes, I think he really like, likes you. And I also feel like everybody wants to do as little as they can and get by, in a sense, right? Like, to not have to work so hard. And so his is like kind of coming to that understanding, and yours is really about standing in your own power. Like, we can look at him all we want, but the big change comes when you make the change, and then that starts to shift everything else. I mean, and therapists will tell you that too. Like, you don't need two people in a relationship to go to therapy. You need, sorry, I just saw a response to, I'll tell you guys what I'm laughing at. You need one person to do the work, and then everything else starts to shift. Either what happens is one person's doing the work and the other person refuses to make that shift and refuses to come up to where, like, start doing the work themselves. And then it's like, relationship ends, but that relationship would have ended anyway, right? Or it's like one person starts doing the work and the other person goes, oh, we could make this easier, couldn't we? Hi, Julia. So I was giggling because we went ice skating, right? We have ice skating lessons on Sundays. And there's like two funny things that happened. My one daughter looked at, there was an ad on the walls, on hockey rinks, they put ads, or ice skating rinks, there's ads on the walls. And there was like an F and then like the little Facebook symbol, but she was like, is F mean fart? I was like, no. But I just thought that was funny because anyway, and then this little girl, they have like special pens or whatever they can draw on the ice with, for like if there's ice skating lessons, like so they can like follow that line or do that thing or know when to do whatever. And this little girl was like drawing, and I could not. I hope I don't get a violation for this because it was so funny. Well, I'm just gonna say it looked phallic with a little coming off the end of it, and I was like, oh my God. So I sent a picture of it into like a group of my friends, and I was like, a little girl decided to draw on the ice today. And it was like a phallus with a little, it literally had a little off of it. So I was giggling because one of the text messages to the response to that just came up. Anyway, sorry. Okay. So does anybody else have any questions? Oh, sorry. I need to answer Regine's. She wasn't here. Or do you want me to clarify any of those? Because I feel like I want to make sure that you got what you wanted since you bought 4 questions, Jen. So I want to like make sure that I answered it the way you wanted to and didn't like ramble off into like all this other word vomit. Okay, Julia, I don't know if you know who Katie Van Slyke is on YouTube. I'm not YouTube, on TikTok. She's on YouTube too. She owns this, like, I guess they own like a horse breeding thing. It's got to be huge. And she bought a horse. Like, I saw that she showed a clip of her bidding on this horse that she bought, who's a stud, for, whatever. And she paid like over $1 million for it. And I was like, oh my God. But it's so funny watching the horses like play. They remind me of bunnies, like when they kind of kick their little butt up and they do these funny little jumps. That's like, bunnies look like that when they're called binkies, when they're really happy. Oh my, she's got some beautiful horses. They're really, really pretty. So it's Katie Van Slyke, Slyke. But when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, because I kept thinking like they've got to have like a ton of money because they have so many animals. Like they have horses and cattle, and then they have mini horses. They have not just, I think they should have a few mini horses and a couple mini Scotland Highland cows, mini Highland cows, and they have some goats. Um, but she has like beautiful. I think they're beautiful horses, whatever. And then she had like whatever. So okay, so Regine had a question. Oh wait, and Jen, did I answer everything to your satisfaction? You're good, thank you. Okay, so Regine said first she wants a general reading, and then she wanted to know anything else I see for her laundromat business. And then we can do, if anybody just wants to do whatever, we can say goodnight, whatever. So Regine, this is for you. I'm feeling like a little energetically down. My stomach feels a little tight. I feel like there's some digestive issues this week, and I don't know if it's just like slowed digestion. Um, Maybe it's more stress or tension. I also feel like not breathing deep enough. Like, it's a need to really. They want you to kind of take a step back and really care for yourself. So I don't know if in the last week or so you've been really putting other people's things ahead of you, other people's needs and wants ahead of you. And it feels like overexertion and overextension of your time. And it's like, it's time to like, you need to like kind of pull that in and fix that. I feel like your blood sugars are off. I almost feel like you're hypoglycemic right now rather than hyper. So something needs to be adjusted. Maybe it's like you're not taking enough time to eat. I'm not 100% sure on that. So they're sort of wanting you to focus on like self care and self advocacy, like advocate for yourself. Like, I need to really kind of like be okay with chilling on your couch and not extending your time, and not feeling guilty about chilling on your couch and like feeling like, oh, I'm being lazy. Like, there is no such thing as lazy. If your body needs rest and recovery, you shouldn't have to earn that. You should just like, that should just be there and standard is the feeling. You'll donate for a question. Okay. You have some videos on Instagram? I didn't know that. I'll look for them. The question about the laundromat business, I'm not seeing anything more right now because there's sort of like right now it's in a holding pattern until you start taking the steps. Like there is nothing more for us to, like, you have to now put the effort in. It's like it's great to fantasize but like at a point there's like now it's time to take the steps and move action first. So they're sort of saying as far as the laundromat, it's like it's time to take action. As long as you are kind of holding and like now this is where the energy is like needs to move forward and you have to make that step forward. So, Julia, what's your question? Oh, a general, please. Okay, sorry. Took me a minute to fully read that. Okay, Julia. So they're talking about May being really high energy for you, but it feels like a good. It's like, oh, I finally have my energy back. So I don't know if like before that you were feeling maybe a little bit. I don't know if it's lethargic is the word, but it's like like it's taking extra effort to like get you to get where you need to go, to do the things that you need to do. It just felt like it was work to motivate yourself. And I feel like May feels like it's high energy. I'm moving. I'm like everything's falling into place. It's like a natural, almost like a natural adrenaline push. Like I just feel like, and it, like feeling really good about it. It just feels like I'm coming out of this kind of sluggish period. May feels very high vibration for you. Um, I don't know which daughter this is, but I feel like also around her there was like maybe not as open communication, or feeling like if we talked about this, like it kind of hit a wall. Like so then she sort of like retreated and went within. And I feel like there's more conversation here now this month, like starting into this, and it's like building and getting healthier, where she's opening up more again, where she's communicating more again, and you're having these really open and honest conversations, and it feels like there's a deeper connection. And it feels like I feel more comfortable because she's talking, and it feels like just a better connection kind of happening and opening up that maybe hasn't been there. I don't know if any of that resonates. I think you might be delayed right now. I don't know. Oh no, you shouldn't be. Does that resonate at all when I say any of that? Yes, I've got a real busy month. Yes, and definitely had a lethargic February, March. Yes. Lana, she's been so much happier. And I just feel like there's a better connection with the two of you now. You're slow typing. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm like, are we delayed here? What's going on? Is that your older one? Because I feel like it's the older daughter, not the younger one, but maybe I'm wrong. And then also, I think your younger one has like some kind of exams, right? How did she do on those? She's the older one. Okay. And Lexi is the middle, past her health. She passed her healthcare one. Oh, yay. Fabulous. I'm so happy about that. I said she would, didn't I? Both heading for college in August. Fabulous. I feel like I was a feeling around Lana having more direction now, or feeling more like she has more direction now. Fabulous. I'm so excited. Well, I think you're the only one here. I don't know if you have any questions, like general questions you want to ask. Otherwise, I think we're just going to bounce off and just call it an early day. She delayed college for a year. Okay. And now she's feeling like she has more direction. So that's fabulous. So everything in perfect timing and perfect order. You're very welcome. I'm glad everything is going well. I want to say, you said you have a very busy May. I feel like it's gonna like be okay, because I feel like you're gonna have the energy to push through it, and it's gonna be exciting. Like, so even though it's a lot, it feels like it's goes well. It's easy. Okay. So can I say goodnight, or what do you want to do? Oh, wait, you know what? It's Cinco de Mayo. I just realized, like, maybe people are out drinking margaritas, and in that case, have fun. So I will say, I'm going to say goodnight. Can I say goodnight? I'm not going to have margaritas or anything, but thank you. Okay. So you have a great week. And I will see you maybe next Sunday. I don't know. Is it Mother's Day weekend? I don't know. Whatever. Have a good one. Oh, it's not Mother's Day for you, because you guys are on a different schedule than we are. I think Mother's Day is in March for y'all, right? All right, I'll see you. Have a good one. Bye.